well-established colony on Mars, the Sky Worshippers. The Golden Skymen were abducting their people and raining chaos upon the colony, until one of the Skymen warriors rebelled against the abductors and returned to the colony, becoming the watchful guardian and pronounced their king. After years of peace with the guardian watching over, the colony was set upon by the infested. As the virus ravaged through, the guardian summoned a massive sandstorm that cleared the infestation, but with great cost to himself. The colonists entombed their king's remains in sacred vessels and hid them inside a temple guarded by the temple guardian, for perhaps he may come back again in the future. The vessels contained the prince and knowledge on summoning the guardian once again. A watchful protector, a king, Warframe by origin from the Orcan era, god of sand, Inaros. Inaros, sand-themed Warframe was released in update 18.5. Since that time, he was not changed. However, he received some augments for his abilities, one of the most endurant frames in the game, and after all this time, just as effective. In this video, I'll show you my up-to-date Inaros build, which has better crowd control and involves augment mods. This is Withering Desiccation Inaros. Inaros has the highest health pool out of all Warframes, and a unique property: no shields. His 200 base armor is fairly good, and paired up with a massive health pool becomes very effective. Inaros is able to constantly proc finishers, and that will proc Arcane Ultimatum, which will increase your armor further and allow you to survive more. The most cost-effective arcane set, not essential, but does help a lot. This build focuses on great survivability and massive crowd control while still retaining good power strength. Corrosive projection for aura, rush in the Exilus for faster movement. Other mobility mods work well too. Vitality and steel fiber for base survivability, rage for energy regeneration, blind rage for power strength. The negative efficiency is more than compensated by the large health pool Inaros has, which is utilized by rage for energy recovery. Stretch and overextended for massive range, making your abilities extremely effective. Streamline for better power efficiency. This could also be swapped with flow or primed flow. Negation swarm augment that prevents all status effects. Extremely useful against knockdowns and magnetic procs. With a massive crowd control radius and good power strength, you're able to lock rooms down very effectively, allowing for either melee or gun-based play. For melee weapon, I use Cost Assist. Daggers with covered lethality are very effective against extremely tough enemies, but for general gameplay, this is my weapon choice. Primed Pressure Point for base damage, Primed Fury for attack speed, Condition Overload for damage based on status effects, Drifting Contact for combo duration, Virulent Scourge with Vicious Frost for viral damage, Voltaic Strike with Volcanic Edge for radiation. This mod setup gives you 3 different damage types that synergize extremely well with Condition Overload. Radiation, which confuses enemies, Corrosive, which reduces enemy armor, and Viral, which reduces enemy max health. All of these statuses proc very often due to 100% status chance. mission start, charge up your swarm. With the augment, every status effect will consume 3% of its amount. Swarm provides 200 extra armor as well. This augment helps greatly when playing in infested missions or versus Grineer, where knockdowns are very frequent. It also prevents status effects from laser doors, meaning you don't have to bother shooting them down and can just pass right through. In sortie missions, with radiation modifier on defense, you will always be able to resurrect teammates or the defense target, since all radiation procs will be prevented. Using swarm on enemies will spread it over and recover your health rapidly while also disabling them. It's very useful in bad situations or when you're cornered. Desiccation is a great ability to use versus large crowds of enemies and heavy units. It prevents all damage done and exposes them to finishers. This also allows you to go gun-based play, since even if you have your rifle equipped, melee finishers will recover health on successful kills. Pairing this up with casts of swarm will ensure you're always at full health. If you're going for gun-based play and not using your melee weapon often, then using daggers with covered lethality mod on them will be a good choice. Covered lethality ensures the enemy dies after a melee finisher, regardless of enemy level or armor. It is extremely useful, especially against the new Grineer Nox units, which are very tanky and deal a lot of damage as well. If you're surrounded, don't have any swarm stacks, or in a bad situation in general, you can always cast Devour. This will open enemies up for consumption. During it, you and the enemy will be invulnerable, but you will be recovering health. This can help in situations when you're almost dead and will provide the opportunity to get out after fully recovering. For alternative arcanes, the more expensive but effective choice would be Arcane Grace. Arcane Grace procs when you get damaged and regenerates health, which is percentage based. Due to Inaros' massive health pool, this arcane set is very effective. Arcane Trickery is another arcane set that would enhance your gameplay. This arcane has a chance to make you invisible on finisher attacks. Since Inaros uses finishers very often, this arcane will be useful. Lastly, an alternative arcane to Ultimatum can be Arcane Guardian. Since you will be getting hit all the time and getting damaged, this arcane set will proc very often. Inaros also has augment mods for his Sandstorm ability, Elemental Sandstorm. It applies your melee weapon status effects onto enemies inside of it. Can be very useful against large crowds of enemies with a radiation status build on your melee weapon. Inaros is a very solid frame, specializing in crowd control and executions. This frame is viable with melee and gun-based play, and his massive health pool with good armor values allows him to go through high-level content with ease. This is Withering Desiccation Inaros.